Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the OACETT NEM College Student Challenges Judges Debriefing. That's a mouthful. My name is Erica, and I'm presenting this information on behalf of the National Engineering Month Ontario Steering Committee and OACETT. So I'm going to take you through the agenda. It should take us about 20 minutes worth of slides, and then you will have the opportunity to ask questions. First of all, we're going to take you through a bit of an introduction about the NEM College Challenge, the goals of the challenge, the role that you as a judge would be playing, including the competition criteria, which have already been provided to the students, as well as the expectations of you as a judge and a few tips that we recommend. We have a list of the events that are entered in the challenge this year for NEM 2014, and then some next steps. So first of all, a bit of an overview of National Engineering Month. In case you didn't know, it's held every March, and it's been going on for a good 20-plus years in Ontario especially. And we do outreach events designed to reach youth as well as members of the general public and engineering and technology students to help inspire the next generation of professionals. And last year, as you can see, NEM 2013, we reached about 25,000 children, teens, and adults, all through in-person events. So that's pretty good. You can see a little bit of a breakdown of who we targeted, and then our additional reach through our online presence was about another almost 1 million people. So that's pretty neat. We wanted to do something very specific. OACETT is one of the founding partners of the National Engineering Month Ontario Steering Committee, and this was something that we decided to pilot. OACETT and NEM together decided to pilot in 2014, and it's something new. So it's open to engineering technology students who are presently enrolled at Ontario colleges, both grad students and undergrads. And the challenge is basically that they organize an event for National Engineering Month, which could be something like a lunch and learn, it could be a design competition, could be a technology symposium, an engineering fair, any of the sorts of traditional activities that we've come to associate with National Engineering Month over the years, or it could be something a little bit different and a little bit more innovative and ambitious. And you'll see a few of the examples of the events that have come out of this. It's pretty exciting stuff. We said teams of up to 5 students are eligible to participate, and the winning team will receive a nice cash prize, and each member of the team gets a 1-year OACETT student membership. So this is really one of the reasons that we need you as judges, is to help us decide who is going to get this great prize, because we've had a very nice response when we issued this challenge back in November. So the students had to reply with the members of their team, and they had to give us the basic outline of the event that they wanted to organize, and we've provided funding and some support for them. So here's a bit of fine print that you can look over on your own time. If you'd like to look into more details, you can go to nemontario.ca/awards, and you'll see all of this information about the NEM College Challenge. So why did we bother doing this? Well, there were a few reasons. One is that we wanted to increase OACETT participation in National Engineering Month. And as you can see, looking back a couple of years during the 2012 campaign in March 2012, and then the campaign in 2013, we were doing okay. We were having about 10 OACETT-run events per campaign. This year, however, because we put out that call to the students to come organize their own events, we've over doubled the number of OACETT run events that we expect to see in this campaign. So it's definitely a success story along those lines, just from the response that we've had to this challenge. Another goal that we had was to increase OACETT's network within the colleges. And on this count as well, we've been very successful already, because a bunch of the student organizers did not just apply as individuals, they applied on behalf of organizations that they're already involved with within the colleges. And so something that we talk about a lot when we're talking about National Engineering Month as an overall campaign is that we really want to see people working together and talking to each other about what works and what contacts they have and what tips they have for doing really great outreach. We know that there are a lot of people who care about this idea of inspiring the next generation of engineering professionals and technology professionals, and there isn't, as a whole lot of teamwork going on. There's a lot of siloed interests. So anyway, to bring those people together was also one of our goals, bring them in with us. So we have the Engineering Society at Conestoga, as well as the IEEE chapter that have answered the call and are now getting involved, and we have the opportunity to create relationships with them that will we hope will outlast this year's campaign and continue into the future as well and make our campaign bigger and stronger, as well as the Fire Prevention Association and the Women in Technology at Seneca, as well as just a couple other examples, the ASME and Engineering Student Association at Sheridan. So we're very glad to have made these contacts, and we're hoping that those will bear fruit in the future as far as in expanding our network and making our campaign bigger and better. And the third and final goal that we have is to increase OSETT's engagement within colleges. So we've already, again, been successful through working with the student liaisons, having them working with the student organizers as they get ready to put on their events. And now we're asking a last push, as a last thing that we need to get done, is to get some professionals to come on the ground to the events at the colleges and give us that sort of personal touch. So this is where those relationships start to develop. I don't know if you remember being a student, you probably do, and remember how inspiring it is when someone who works in the profession that you hope to enter one day, a million questions might come to your mind about, well, I wonder what this person does, I wonder what a day in the life of that job is, I wonder which companies I might work for, I wonder what advice they would give me, what do they wish that they'd known when they were students that they could tell me now. There's a lot of that sort of informal mentorship and role modeling that goes on that I'm sure is also very rewarding for you to be a part of as well. So as judges, you're really representing OSETT on the ground and getting that opportunity to engage with the students, which is really fun and interesting as well. So this is the role, the formal role that you'll be playing is to check in on the execution of the event in accordance with the event plan. And remember, these are students planning these events. Some of them have done it before, some of them have not. And basically, we just want to verify that they were successful in delivering the plan that they set out. So we've been coaching them in how to plan, how to budget, how to recruit volunteers, how to promote your event. We've been giving, as you might know, webinars and different types of instructional tools. And your job will be to verify how well they executed on that plan. The other piece is to see how within some of the goals of National Engineering Month campaign, which I'll get into, how successful were they in that way. So National Engineering Month is a public outreach campaign. We are influencing people outside of the profession, meaning students, youth, members of the general public. So it's necessary for us to be wearing our sort of public relations hat. We can't just speak the way we might amongst ourselves, amongst each other, because we need to be conscious of the fact that we are managing perceptions, we're breaking up stereotypes, and there's a certain sort of trick to that, which I'll get into a little bit more in a bit. So for that reason, because this is a public outreach campaign whose audience is much broader than the engineering and technology community, it's not a technical judging role that we see you fulfilling here. So it's not necessary, for example, for you to match up by discipline to the event that you'll be judging. Don't worry about that. Just the fact that you're showing up as a representative of OSETT, as a member of the profession that these students are one day going to be entering, that's enough. And your expertise and knowledge, it will be valuable to the students. Your opinions and your experience, if you're willing to share some personal stories with the students and just generally, be present, be encouraging, ask them questions, that's going to be very valuable to them. So that was the first thing we wanted to say, is don't worry about the technical piece lining up. Although, if you get into those topics, that's fine too. The only thing that we're requiring you, the one job that we're asking you to fulfill for us, is to fill in and submit a format called a judge's report, which we will provide for you. So first of all, I just want to tell you about a document that's already gone out to the student volunteers. It's called the Criteria for Competition. And we generated this because a bunch of the students who were organizing the events for the challenge were saying, well, how are we going to be judged? How are you going to figure out who wins? Sort of like asking what's going to be on the exam so we know what to study, that kind of thing. Very smart young individuals. And so we came back to them and said that there are actually 3 different criteria on which we're going to be determining the winner. The judge's report is one piece of that. Number 2 is the stuff that they give us, meaning the funding application, submitting a balanced budget, showing us what they did. They have an event scorecard that they're going to need to fill out to show what they did. And then there's also some post-event engagement that we'd like to see from them. So you'll notice of these 3 things on the list that are determining the winner, number 2 and number 3 are both up to the event organizer. Only number 1 is up to you as the judge. So hopefully that helps put a little bit of relief in your mind that this isn't all on you. You don't need to feel like there's a lot of pressure on you in order to determine an outcome, because we're going to be reviewing all three of these pieces of information when we go about making our decision on who's going to win the challenge. So here is the part that you are responsible for, the judge's report. So first of all, what was the intended messaging? We're going to have that information for you. They already decided that on their when they did the funding application. I'll show you the funding, messaging guidelines. And then your comment, your input is going to be, how well did the event organizers deliver this message? So this will be your somewhat subjective rating of how well they did the message come through. And our emphasis on messaging is really back to that idea of the fact that we are looking to influence the general public and youth, people outside of our community of engineering and technology professionals and students. So we know that we need to speak in a very purposeful way. So what are we trying to do when it comes to messaging? We want to have very clear messages, deliberate messages. We can't go into a lot of technical mumbo jumbo because people are not going to understand. If anything, that's just going to make them think that we're sort of closed off and really into numbers and technology and very disconnected from who they are and what they care about, and we don't want them to think that at all, because that's not the case. We want to change the public perception of engineering and technology, help them see how much engineering and technology are a part of their everyday lives. We want to break any negative stereotypes that they might have, raise awareness, and enhance the profile of engineering and technology professions to show that this is, it's a great place to be, it's an exciting place to be, it's interesting, it's relevant, it's valuable, and that maybe none of those negative stereotypes really apply. So again, we're being very purposeful and positive and delivering impactful messages. So what are those messages? Well, we happen to know this because we've done quite a bit of digging around in the research around engineering and technology outreach, and we know that there are 4 main guidelines that sort of sum up the best messages to send about engineering and technology. And the first one has sort of 2 pieces to it. First, there's a message about diversity. So because of us being where we are in the 21st century right now, we have a diversity of challenges that we need to solve. And because we have a diversity of challenges, we need a diversity of thinkers, meaning we need some people that are good at the details and the nitty-gritty, executing stuff, number crunching and things. We need some people that are good at the communicating part. We need some people that are good at the creative part. We need some people that are good at design and good at the graphic, the CAD, all those sorts of conceptual pieces, rotating 3D images in their heads. We need all of these types of thinkers to be able to work together to deliver really great solutions to these complex problems and challenges that we have. And going on the back of that, because we require a diversity of thinkers, it means there's a place for you. So this is specifically important to anyone who might be doubting whether there is a place for them. Maybe, for example, a young girl, or maybe, for example, someone who's in some kind of minority and might look at engineering and think, oh, maybe I don't belong there. We really want to give that message that, yes, there is a place for you. We want to be very inclusive and open in our messaging. So that's the first one. The second one is about how engineering and technology shape the world around us yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So it's that same question of, well, what did you do this morning? You turned on the water. Okay, well, maybe engineering and technology were involved in that. And then what did you do? Oh, I brushed my teeth. Oh, well, that's interesting because there are, 87 different types of engineering and technologist roles that participated in these everyday events, and so many things we take for granted. It's also really interesting to talk about the past of technology and the way that we lived maybe 50 or 60 years ago and how radically different it is from where we are today, the way we've gone from, horses and buggies to the Model T Ford. We actually have a poster for National Engineering Month that sort of charts out this timeline from the mid-1500s through on into today, where we have rocket ships and internet and all that good stuff. And where are we going tomorrow? That's always a kind of a fun and interesting conversation in terms of the future inventions and things that we might see in trends emerging. And engineering and technology being a cool part of that. So you can see we're really showing how important engineering and technology are and how exciting they are. The third messaging guideline is around creativity and imagination to turn ideas into reality. And I really like this one because it really applies across the broad spectrum of different industries, of different disciplines, of different companies, different types of businesses that we all work in. Maybe everybody does something a little bit technically different, but one broad thing that we can say and be right about every single job that we're a part of is that we take something that was just a thought, it was just someone's concept, and we turn it into reality. And that's pretty cool. And you do need, some imagination and some inventiveness and some creativity. And again, it's talking to that group of people, those kids who are the creative and imaginative types. We want them to see that that this is a good path for them. So ideas into reality. That's a good one too. The fourth messaging guideline has been shown to test especially positive with young girls, which is interesting, talking about how engineering and technology are essential to the safety, health, and happiness of people around the world. So I know that, when I graduated from university, I got my iron ring, and I know that a lot of people, when they graduate from colleges, they get the technology ring, and it's the same basic idea that we know we have a responsibility to do our jobs well because we're taking care of health and safety and well-being, and we want people to know that. So engineering and technologists making a world of difference. So that keep that make a world of difference theme in mind there for a moment. Keep that phrase in your head because you're going to see it again. So that is part one of the judges report. Part two is around theme. And remember I said I wanted you to remember make a world of difference. The theme of the National Engineering Month campaign this year is make a world of difference. So this was another thing that was explicitly called out to the event organizers at the NEM Challenge. We told them, make sure you include make a world of difference in your event. And we want to get a bit of an idea of what that means to them and how have they integrated it into maybe their printed materials, maybe if they're doing a presentation of some sort, maybe some of their volunteers are giving explanations and answers. How well did they incorporate make a world of difference into the event? And again, you'll be giving a mark from 0 to 5 and then giving some comments and giving them every opportunity to be recognized for what it is that they do. So this is kind of a cool thing. This is a new theme for all of the National Engineering Month campaigns across Canada. Each province sort of does their own thing, but they're all linked under this umbrella that Engineers Canada coordinates. And for 2014, it's Make a World of Difference. So part 3, engagement. And this is something you just kind of have to be there to know what it is. And when we read the plans of the event organizers, we're not going to know about how the engagement and the overall feeling of the event was. So that's something we're counting on you to gauge. And the question here, I guess, is were the participants engaged? Were they present? Did they have a good time? Did the organizers succeed in engaging the participants? Did they get pretty much no engagement? Were everyone's eyes just sort of glazed over, really low energy? Or was there that sort of happy buzz in the air? Did you see lots of questions, lots of back and forth, lots of productive conversations and sort of people's eyes lighting up? You kind of know it when you see it, and that's sort of what we're all after when we talk about doing really great outreach. So we'd like you to provide some comments about that as well. And I've got a few guidelines here on what works for participant engagement. So as I mentioned, it's sort of that intangible buzz in the room. We're asking you to sort of comment on something that's a little bit tough to quantify exactly. One way to get really good participant engagement is to have a really small volunteer to participant ratio, so lots of people around to help engage the participants. Asking and answering lots of questions, using age-appropriate language, so you sort of have to know your audience. You have to be able to think like your audience, know which examples they're going to really connect to and they're going to understand. You want to not use overly complex language or give too much of an explanation in a context that's not going to make any sense to them. The way the activity is designed as well, it's beyond just what you talk about, but it's also around having hands-on activities, having support available if they're struggling, for example, with the activity, they need a little bit of help. You can see our volunteer here is helping our two participants to build their, it looks like a windmill maybe, or a turbine of some sort. Then you've got something that engages all different types of learners. So ideally you've got some visual elements, you've got some stuff that you're saying out loud, something that people can play with. There's really something to that hands-on element that really, in my experience, really opens people's minds and gets them really fired up and excited. Depending on the age of the group and the type of the activity, you might want to give them a little bit of participant discussion. For example, ask them, if it's an older group of maybe high school students or college, university students, what do you think the future of engineering and technology looks like? And then have them report back to the group. So really encouraging that. Again, that word engagement gets overused sometimes, but that's really what we're after, is just having them, having their minds open, switched on, present, thinking and participating, and taking things away from the event. And then there's just a little note here at the end that says engagement can continue after the event as well. So if you see that the event organizers have made an arrangement for people to tweet things, for example, on social media, or that they're collecting email addresses so that they can stay in touch with people and so they'll come back to their next event, or they have maybe sign-ups for volunteering for the instructors, for the teachers if they're around. That's a really great thing to do as well, as far as participant engagement. So that is the third and final thing. It's pretty simple what we're asking you to fill out. It's just got those 3 parts on messaging, theme, and participant engagement. So like I said, they're not technical things, although you're certainly welcome to chat with the participants about any technical elements that you find interesting. That's totally fine. You should get to have a good time out of it too. So just a couple more things to keep in mind. Before the event, we will connect you with the student organizers. They know that there are judges coming, and hopefully they will be mindful of giving you all the right details that you need to get to the right spot at the right time. We had a question from the previous webinar saying, is it okay if we go to the event site the day before to see the students and to talk to them and kind of get a sense of the event beforehand? That is absolutely fine with us. I would not say it's a requirement, especially if you have to drive any kind of distance, or maybe if you've got another commitment, or the students aren't, if they're not there the day before. By no means is that a requirement, but we're open to that if you want to have that extra contact with them. No problem. On the day, we're asking that you obviously attend the event, and we have a note here long enough to get a good sense of the event, a good experience of what it's about and what they're doing. And you probably want to check in with students on this to find out if they're having some sort of presentation, or if there's some sort of natural climax of the event that you should be there for in order to understand what it is that they're doing. Make sure you're there for that. If it's an all-day event or even a multiple-day event, we don't expect you to be giving up hours and hours and hours of your time, but please do check in with the students, figure out when the best times for you to be there would be, and then make sure that you are there. Again, that word, engage with students. Go ahead and ask questions, especially if it's something related to, okay, so what were the messages and how did you mean to put the messages across? Give them every opportunity to get credit for the good things that they did. And definitely ask questions on the things that you're interested in as well. You don't need to limit it to just the things that are on your judge's report. I have a tip here asking that you limit your feedback, and I'll tell you why we're saying that. It's possible that the students will be really nervous and excited to hear what it is that you have to say, and if you give feedback that you say is constructive criticism, or you're saying, no, you should have done that, or why didn't you do that, 2 things could happen. They could get either very, sort of frustrated, and they might argue with you, or they might feel very discouraged. And we don't want that to happen, especially because most of these students are organizing events for the first time. We want to make sure it's a positive experience for them. If they do ask you for feedback, we definitely go ahead and pick out a few things that they did well, even if they're very basic things. Give them a few pats on the back for the things that they did well, and sort of refrain from giving them anything that could make their experience negative. And obviously write down all of the glowing things as well as anything that you see that maybe didn't work out so well. So we ask that you be observant. Obviously, you're going to get to know the student organizers, and we hope that you enjoy meeting them and getting to know them. But we do still want you to be impartial, be honest. Don't write down things that they didn't do, but you can be friendly with them because they might be nervous. And again, we want it to be an overall positive experience for them. And then just fill out the judge's report. If you want to give us additional information, that's totally fine. If you want to submit some pictures, videos, you're not required to do that. The students will be doing that. But if that's a role that you would like to play for them, that's absolutely fine. So I guess that was everything we wanted to say. Along the lines of the judge's report, you can either print out the document, which we will send you in Word, and you can physically write on a piece of paper as you walk around at the event, or you can take your own notes and then just type it into the judge's report and send it back to us. So I guess you could either, if you're writing on a hard copy, you can either scan, or if it's clear enough resolution, take a picture with your smartphone and email it to us. We don't want it to take up a lot of your time, and we sure do appreciate you taking the time to collect this data for us and get the report back to us. So here are the challenge events. As we mentioned, there are 11 of them. The reason I say 11 or 12 is because we have a second team from George Brown, which may or may not make it. They may be able to enter. But we have 2 teams from Centennial. And you'll see we've put the organizer's name in brackets here just because that's the way that we've come to reference the events ourselves, is by the event organizer. So the OACETT chapter that is buddied up with Centennial is Toronto East. And there are 2 events there, the Future of Storing Information and Technology Gallery. Then there are 2 events that are going on at Seneca, and that's Toronto Central. Innovation and Industry Dinner, that's with the Fire Prevention Association. I'm actually really excited about that one because they're going to be doing some presentations over dinner, and then afterward they're going to be rolling out sort of an innovation space for people. So they actually got some extra funding from us to do an innovative event, so some innovation funding. So we're excited to see what they do with that. We've got Seneca Women in Technology. They're doing something called the X Zone, which, to be honest, I don't really know what that is. It's going to be really interesting. At Sheridan, this was the first team that we had to enter. They seem really well organized and really excited. The Peel chapter is their mentor chapter. They're doing something called Get Innovative, which sounds very promising. Great response from Conestoga. We have 2 people stepped forward from their NSOC to organize events, the Design and Engineering Challenge and a Robot Extravaganza. So that sounds pretty fun. And then one of our late entries actually was from the IEEE chapter there at Conestoga, and they're going to do something called an engineering fair at a public school. So good for them. Those are all the Grand Valley chapter. And then we've got George Brown. I don't have the title of their event, unfortunately. I will have to look into that and connect someone from the Toronto Central chapter up with George Brown. Loyalist, which is great. They're out in Belleville. The Quinte chapter will be paired up with them. They're doing something called Innovation in Waterworks. And then there's Confederation College way up in Thunder Bay. We're very glad to have them on board as well. They're doing an engineering and technology symposium. So that is the whole thing. That's what we wanted to tell you. Just a little bit of a reminder of our social media platforms. If you're on any of these personally or through your chapter or through your work, please reach out to us. We don't bite. We like to share interesting and fun content back and forth. And we are actually on Instagram as well, which is a photo sharing platform. So you'll see us on all of those. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. Here's my email address, and we will be contacting each of you individually to link you up with the event organizers to make sure that you have the date, the time,